Imagine for a second that you're standing outside on a perfectly clear night.
Yeah, one of those really dark nights where you can see everything.
Exactly. You're looking up at the stars and, well, you're thinking about the most famous, most mystical journeys in human history.
Right.
Because for thousands of years, when people talk about prophetic ascension, like literal flights through the night sky, crossing the boundaries of the universe.
The heavens.
Yeah, the heavens. We've almost universally pictured it as a physical event, like a miraculous outward journey into space.
Well, I mean, because that is how the human mind naturally processes the concept of a journey.
Makes sense.
We need a starting point, a physical trajectory, and, a destination. We look at the sky, and we just sort of project our understanding of travel right onto it.
And this is the core of what we're talking about today. What if you found out that the most famous mystical journey in history wasn't a physical trip into the stratosphere at all? What if you discovered that it was actually this highly specific, painstakingly detailed geographic map of, well, your own internal psychology?
Which is just a wild concept to wrap your head around.
It is. What if that flight through the night sky was actually a blueprint for the cosmic battle happening inside your own brain, like between your raw instincts and your highest consciousness?
It forces a completely total paradigm shift. You aren't looking out into the void of space anymore.
Yeah.
You are suddenly forced to look inward into the actual mechanics of your own spiritual anatomy.
Oh, wow.
And you realize that the coordinates you've been given, they aren't for a star system. They're for you.
Which is exactly why we're doing this deep dive today. Welcome to the show. We are undertaking a massive mission today, and we are going to entirely deconstruct how we view human consciousness.
And spiritual ascension, yeah.
Right. And we are doing this by unpacking a profoundly complex, radically different treatise by Dr. Khaled Waleed.
Yes, from his extensive work on the Almighty Covenant YouTube channel.
Exactly. And just so you know, if you are looking for the original Arabic source, it's known as Mithaq al-Khaliq.
Right. And I think it's crucial to establish the ground rules for our exploration today before we really get into the weeds.
Please do.
Because Dr. Waleed is not just offering a light philosophical meditation here. He isn't just throwing out ideas.
Right. It's not just a casual thought experiment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He is performing an intensely rigorous linguistic reconstruction of Quranic verses.
Like looking at the root words.
Yeah, he's looking at the literal root letters of ancient Arabic words, examining their precise phrasing. And he's proposing a vast integrated framework built around a concept he terms the sacred pairs.
Okay, let's unpack this, because this is where I really need to set the stage for you, the listener.
Okay.
It is a highly controversial, intricately detailed take, and I want to be super clear. Our goal today isn't to play referee.
Right, we aren't judging between orthodox historical consensus and Dr. Waleed.
Exactly. Our job is to put on his specific pair of glasses, look at the text exactly as he translates and interprets it, and just follow his map to see where it leads.
Just impartially exploring it.
Yeah. And honestly, whether you are obsessed with linguistics or fascinated by theology or just seeking a massive aha moment about why you sometimes feel internally fractured.
Oh, absolutely.
This framework from the Almighty Covenant channel offers a totally new lens to look at all of that.
It really operates as a diagnostic tool for the human condition.
Okay, so where do we start?
Well, to even begin to understand the journey, the famous concepts of Al-Isra, the night journey, or Al-Miraj, the ascension,
Right.
Dr. Waleed insists that we cannot start with the map. We have to start with the traveler.
The traveler, okay.
Because if you don't understand the complex mechanics of the vehicle making the trip, the map is entirely useless to you.
So who is the traveler? I mean, if I read a traditional text, the traveler is just a person, right? A physical body with a name.
Exactly. That's the standard reading.
But in Dr. Waleed's framework, it is fundamentally more complicated than that. He talks about this foundational concept of the sacred pairs.
Yes.
So how does he define what is actually making this journey?
So Dr. Waleed is absolute on this point. He asserts that no individual, no honest contemplator of these texts can grasp the deep Quranic meanings without fully internalizing his sacred pairing system.
It's that important.
It is the architectural bedrock of his entire interpretation.
Wow. Okay.
And at the absolute pinnacle of this system, the highest and most refined sacred pair is what the text calls the person and their mate.
The person and their mate.
Right, referencing the Arabic phrase al-mar'u wa zawjuhu.
Now, I have to stop you there, because when most people hear a person and their mate, especially in an ancient text, the immediate assumption is marital.
Right, a husband and a wife.
Yeah, like Adam and Eve. It sounds like a domestic, literal relationship.
And that is the conventional surface-level assumption. But Dr. Waleed rejects that mundane interpretation when it comes to the cosmic scale of these verses. He explicitly defines the person and their mate, not as two separate human beings, but as the two foundational intertwined components of a single human entity.
Oh, interesting. So the mate is inside you.
Yes. The mate here is the pairing of the spirit, which in Arabic is al-ruh and the soul al-nafs.
The spirit and the soul. We desperately need to draw a hard line between these two.
We really do.
Because in modern English, we use those words completely interchangeably. You know, someone says, oh, I feel it in my soul, or that really lifted my spirit.
Yeah, we just treat them as poetic synonyms for our inner feelings.
Right. But Dr. Waleed is treating them as two entirely distinct, almost mechanical components, isn't he?
He treats them as distinct as a compass is from a furnace.
A compass and a furnace. I like that.
In his framework, derived from the Almighty Covenant Channel, the soul, the nafs, is your primal drive.
Like your instincts.
Exactly. It's the repository of your desires, your fears, your raw emotional output, and your basic instincts for survival and gratification.
Okay.
It is the engine that generates the power and the movement. And the spirit.
The spirit, the ruh, is the divine tether. It's higher consciousness, logic, spiritual intuition, and the guiding force that inherently knows the divine law.
Okay, let me try to put an analogy on this just to make sure I am visualizing this mechanical relationship correctly.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Let's imagine the human being as a highly sophisticated, high-performance vehicle.
Okay, a car.
Yeah. The soul, the nafs, is that massive, roaring engine under the hood. It has incredible raw power. It demands fuel. It wants to accelerate. It reacts to the road.
Right, lots of energy.
But it doesn't actually know where it is going. It just wants to go.
Yes, exactly.
And the spirit, the ruh, is the satellite navigation system, the GPS.
That's perfect.
It knows the safe route. It knows the destination. It knows the speed limits.
What's fascinating here is that it captures Dr. Waleed's dynamic perfectly. The engine and the navigation system are meant to be inextricably linked.
They have to work together.
When they are properly connected, they exist in a state of existential balance.
Dr. Waleed points to the Arabic term al-mizan for this balance. The spirit directs the power of the soul, and the soul provides the necessary earthly energy to propel the spirit's intentions.
But here is where the tragedy of this framework seems to kick in.
Right.
Because if I am reading Dr. Waleed's analysis of the text correctly, this connection isn't permanent.
No, it's not.
It is fragile, and there are active forces trying to sever the wires between the engine and the GPS.
Yes, the devils are Satan.
He specifically points to Surah al-Baqarah, verse 102, right? The verse that traditionally talks about people learning magic in Babylon from Harut and Marut.
Right, learning things that separate a man from his wife.
Yeah. So this is where Dr. Waleed's linguistic reinterpretation fundamentally alters the landscape, isn't it?
It completely flips it. Traditional exegesis looks at that verse and concludes that the ultimate evil of this ancient magic was that it caused marital divorce. It broke up households.
Which is bad, obviously.
Sure, but Dr. Waleed zooms out to the macro cosmic psychological scale. He interprets separating a man from his mate as the ultimate demonic interference.
Meaning?
Severing the internal connection between your spirit and your soul.
Wait, so if I'm understanding Dr. Waleed correctly, the magic or demonic interference mentioned in the text isn't necessarily about spooky spells.
No.
Or cauldrons or breaking up a human marriage. It's the literal hacking of our internal navigation system.
That is exactly it.
The devils are cutting the cord between our higher consciousness and our raw instinct.
Precisely. The devils, in this context, are not monsters hiding under the bed.
Right.
They are disruptive forces aiming to dismantle your internal architecture.
Yeah.
And Dr. Waleed demonstrates this by looking at the literal root letters of the Arabic word for balance, al-mizan.
Walk me through that, because this is where his linguistic breakdowns get really fascinating. How does the Arabic language itself prove this separation?
Okay, so the root letters for the concept of balance, or mazan, revolve around wa, ze, and nun.
Wa, ze, nun. Okay.
It implies a foundational stability, a counterweight. But when that hacking happens, when the spirit and soul are successfully separated by these negative forces, Dr. Waleed explains that the human being's existential balance is destroyed.
So the word changes.
Linguistically, the person loses that foundational structural letter, the wa.
Oh, wow.
They go from being balanced in mizan to a state he calls unbalanced, which is zan.
Zan, unbalanced. You literally lose a piece of your structural foundation in the very language used to describe you.
Yes, the word itself is broken, just as the internal mechanism is broken.
That is wild.
And without the guiding intervention of the spirit, the person is left in this state of zan. They begin to make purely instinctual psychological decisions based solely on the soul's desires.
You go back to the car analogy. The engine is running at full speed. The accelerator is pinned to the floor, but the navigation system is completely shut off.
Exactly. The steering wheel is detached.
You are just reacting. If you get cut off in traffic, your nafs flares with rage, and there is no route to say, hey, let it go. It's not worth it.
You're completely unchecked.
You are driven entirely by base desires, fears, and raw emotions, cut off from any higher divine logic.
Which is a terrifyingly accurate diagnosis of a lot of human behavior, if we're being honest.
Oh, 100%.
According to Dr. Waleed's framework from the Almighty Covenant channel, this loss of equilibrium is the fundamental tragedy of the human condition.
Yeah.
When you operate in a state of zan, you become a danger to yourself and your environment. You are highly active, but completely directionless.
That feels incredibly relevant to everyday life right now. I mean,
Yeah.
when you look at how we behave when we are stressed or doom scrolling,
Right, the doom scrolling is a perfect example.
or reacting out of primal anger online, it feels exactly like that internal severing. The balance is gone.
It really does.
But this brings us to a massive question. If we recognize that we are unbalanced, if we realize our spirit and soul are disjointed, how do we fix it?
How do we put the wall back in mizan?
Exactly. How do we get the vehicle moving in the right direction again?
Well, that question transitions us directly from the nature of the traveler to the nature of the journey itself.
Okay, the journey.
Because the journey is the cure. This brings us to Dr. Waleed's radical redefinition of al-Isra.
Al-Isra, the night journey.
Yes.
Now, for any listener who has a passing familiarity with Islamic history, Al-Isra is universally understood as a physical miracle.
A literal historical event.
Right. The prophet physically traveling from the sacred city of Mecca to the city of Jerusalem in a single night, riding a heavenly creature. It is taught as a geographical event.
Standard historical consensus.
But Dr. Waleed flips the board on this entirely, doesn't he?
He absolutely does. Dr. Waleed posits that reading al-Isra purely as a historical geographical anomaly misses the entire cosmic blueprint.
Oh, what is it?
He defines al-Isra as a dual process, but primarily it is a horizontal internal journey that must be performed by every single righteous servant.
Every single one.
Yes, it is not an exclusive one-time VIP trip for a single prophet.
Yeah.
It is the required internal mechanism for human prophets, angelic messengers, and theoretically, anyone seeking to restore that broken mizan.
So if it is an internal journey, the locations mentioned in the text can't just be physical cities, right?
Right. They have to map internally.
Because the text says the journey goes from the sacred mosque al-Masjid al-Haram to the farthest mosque al-Masjid al-Aqsa.
Yes.
How does Dr. Waleed map those physical structures onto our internal anatomy?
He performs a brilliant piece of linguistic mapping here. The word masjid essentially means a place of prostration, a place of submission.
Okay.
Dr. Waleed identifies the starting point, the sacred mosque, al-Masjid al-Haram, not as a building made of stone in Mecca, but as the heart al-Qalb.
The heart is the sacred mosque. That completely changes the texture of the narrative. It means the sanctified starting point of this legendary journey is beating inside the chest of every single listener right now.
Exactly. The heart is the inner sanctuary. And from that raw, beating center of emotion and intent, the traveler must journey horizontally to the destination. The farthest mosque, al-Masjid al-Aqsa.
And what is the farthest mosque inside us?
Dr. Waleed identifies this farthest mosque as the person or the spirit itself, al-Mar.
I really want to sit with that for a second. The farthest mosque.
Yeah, think about that phrasing.
The farthest point you can reach isn't a city hundreds of miles away. It is the highest, most elevated version of your own spirit.
Exactly.
So to travel from al-Masjid al-Haram to al-Masjid al-Aqsa is to successfully bridge the gap between your raw, emotional heart and your higher divine consciousness.
It is the act of reconnecting the engine to the GPS.
It is the internal expedition of restoring the sacred pair.
Yes. And Dr. Waleed emphasizes a crucial detail from the text regarding this journey.
What's that?
It is explicitly a night journey. It takes place on Earth, and the creature making the journey is moving through darkness.
Why darkness? Why is that detail so paramount to his thesis?
Because the darkness represents the state of the unbalanced world.
Ah, okay.
It represents confusion, ignorance, the magic of the devils that severed the connection in the first place.
Right, the Zan state.
Yeah. You are navigating the murky, chaotic landscape of your own psyche. And according to Dr. Waleed, you are doing so guided solely by the light of the merciful.
Because you don't have perfect vision.
Right. You don't have perfect, sunlit visibility of your own subconscious. You're feeling your way through the dark.
That metaphor makes total sense. It's astonishingly practical.
It really is.
Because when you are lost in the darkness of a major life crisis, or you are overwhelmed by anxiety, or you are just drowning in modern information overload.
Like we were talking about earlier with the doom scrolling.
Exactly. Your first instinct for finding peace shouldn't be to look outward. You don't just blast off into the sky hoping God drops a solution in your lap.
No, you can't bypass the internal work.
The first required step, the Isra, is a horizontal internal search. You are digging through the dark of your own mind, holding on to whatever divine light you have, trying to drag your raw, panicking heart back into alignment with your rational, higher spirit.
And this journey is incredibly arduous. It's not a walk in the park.
I can imagine.
The profound implication of Dr. Waleed's map on the Almighty Covenant channel is that spiritual elevation requires intense internal confrontation.
You cannot bypass the messy reality of your heart.
Exactly. Reaching the farthest mosque of the spirit means successfully navigating the dark terrain of your own soul.
You have to confront the beast.
Yeah, you do.
Which is dangerous, right?
Yes.
Because if the journey is this difficult and the devils are actively trying to keep your spirit and soul separated, there must be a high failure rate.
Oh, there is.
What happens if you try to make this internal journey and you fail?
That is the pivotal question, and Dr. Waleed does not leave it to our imagination.
Okay.
He provides a highly specific historical and linguistic case study of a catastrophic failure.
A case study, who?
He presents the cautionary tale of the entity known as Israel.
Now, I want to interject here very firmly for our listeners.
Please do, this is important.
We are entering territory where words have heavy, modern geopolitical baggage. We must be incredibly clear. We are looking strictly at Dr. Waleed's textual, linguistic, and Quranic breakdown of these specific ancient terms.
Yes, absolutely.
We are not discussing modern nation-states or modern politics at all. We are exploring how Dr. Waleed defines Israel as a specific linguistic and historical entity within his framework of the sacred pairs.
A vital distinction.
Yeah.
Because in Dr. Waleed's framework, Israel is not initially a proper noun describing a tribe or a country.
Right.
He breaks the word down linguistically. He connects Isra, the root for night travel, with the obedience to El, or divine revelation.
Israel.
Therefore, Israel translates to the night travel in obedience to revelation.
Wait, so Israel isn't a person's name in this context. It's a job description.
Essentially, yes.
It's an action verb.
Precisely. It is a title given to an entity commanded to undertake this specific internal journey. Dr. Waleed calls this figure the first Uzair ever.
Okay, you have to define that for me. What is an Uzair?
Right.
That is a term that most people, even those familiar with the text, might stumble over.
In Dr. Waleed's specific lexicon on the Almighty Covenant channel, the term Uzair relates to someone who is given a profound covenant.
A covenant?
Yeah, someone who is burdened with carrying the weight of the revelation. It is an entity chosen to manifest the divine law.
Okay.
So Israel was an entity, the first Uzair, tasked with making the successful Isra, maintaining the Mizan, the balance of spirit and soul, and carrying the divine light.
So he was given the ultimate internal mission. He was supposed to be the prototype for this journey.
Yes, he was the prototype. But Israel failed this journey. And the mechanics of his failure perfectly illustrate everything we've discussed about the sacred pairs.
How so?
According to Dr. Waleed's analysis, Israel failed to maintain his balance. Satan intervened, successfully executed the magic we discussed earlier, and separated his heart's pair.
Oh, wow.
He severed Israel's guiding spirit from his raw soul.
The engine was disconnected from the navigation system while the car was moving at top speed.
Exactly that.
How does Dr. Waleed prove this from the text?
He points directly to Surah Al-Araf, verses 175 and 176.
Okay, what do they say?
The text is incredibly vivid. It describes someone to whom the signs or revelations were given, but instead of elevating with them, He slipped away from them.
Slipped away.
Yeah, Satan pursued him, and he became of the deviators. The verse explicitly says that had the Creator willed, he could have elevated him through the signs, but instead this entity clung to the earth and followed his own vain desire.
Followed his own vain desire. That is the nafs.
That is the nafs in total control.
That is the soul overriding the spirit.
Exactly. The spirit was trying to pull him toward the farthest mosque, toward higher elevation, but his severed soul anchored him to the dirt.
Wow.
And the Quranic metaphor used to describe this specific state of failure is one of the most striking in the entire text.
What's the metaphor?
It compares him to a panting dog.
A panting dog.
The verse says, his example is like that of the dog. If you chase him, he pants, or if you leave him, he pants.
Let's really analyze that imagery. A panting dog.
Yeah.
Biologically, why does a dog pant? It doesn't have sweat glands like we do. It pants to constantly try and regulate its internal temperature.
Right, it's trying to cool down.
It is constantly overheating. If you map that onto Dr. Waleed's framework, it is the ultimate visceral picture of a severed soul.
Oh, totally.
The nafs is burning with raw desire, unchecked ambition, and primal fear. It has no spirit to cool it down, to give it peace.
There's no regulation.
So whether it is being actively chased by enemies or sitting perfectly still in a room, it is in a state of perpetual instinctual agitation. It can never find rest.
Yeah.
It can never find mazan.
It is the absolute portrait of the unbalanced traveler. The entity of Israel became trapped in this psychological fever state.
That is a terrifying description.
But Dr. Waleed takes this analysis a crucial step further.
Okay, where does he go with it?
Because this wasn't just a sad, isolated personal failure. When someone tasked with carrying the revelation becomes unbalanced, the fallout is catastrophic.
It affects other people.
Heavily. Dr. Waleed explains that Israel, driven by his severed soul, committed shirk polytheism.
Polytheism? How? Did he start building idols of wood and stone and telling people to worship them?
No, the polytheism was far more insidious and systemic than that.
Okay.
He committed shirk by taking his internal imbalance and weaponizing it to alter the Creator's fixed religious system.
Wait, really?
Yes. Dr. Waleed directs us to Surah Ali Imran, verses 93 through 95. These verses discuss how all food was lawful to the children of Israel, except what Israel forbade to himself before the Torah was revealed.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Food.
Yes, food.
Out of all the massive cosmic crimes a fallen entity could commit, his ultimate downfall, the undeniable proof of his internal imbalance, started with arbitrarily restricting food that was originally meant to be lawful.
I know, it sounds weird at first.
That seems like a massive leap. How does a dietary restriction equal polytheism?
It sounds strange on the surface, but if we connect this deeply to the psychology of the sacred pairs, it makes terrifying sense.
Walk me through it.
When the soul, the raw instinct, the ego acts without the oversight of the spirit, what is its primary objective?
It wants dominance. It wants to protect itself and assert power over its environment.
Right. It seeks ultimate control. And what is the most primal, foundational way to control another living creature?
You control what it consumes.
Exactly. By changing the divine law, by stepping in and unilaterally deciding what is lawful and what is forbidden, Israel was exerting absolute psychological control over the people.
Wow.
He was taking a system designed by the Creator for human flourishing and tightening the screws to enslave people to his own arbitrary rules.
I see it now. He was usurping the legislative power of the divine.
Yes.
By saying, God said this is fine, but I say it is forbidden, he was essentially setting himself up as a rival deity.
Which is the literal definition of shirk.
Right.
Dr. Waleed argues that by doing this, Israel made himself a god, acting as an agent for the party of Satan.
So it's not just about the food.
No. Banning lawful things isn't just a quirky historical dietary note. It is the ultimate symptom of an internal compass that is entirely broken.
Right.
It is a soul that has severed its ties with the divine spirit and has decided to play God on earth.
It's the engine saying, I am the navigation system now. Forget the divine GPS. I am drawing the map.
Perfect analogy.
And the tragedy is that by altering the system, he doesn't just crash his own vehicle. He forces everyone else onto his broken map.
He drags everyone down with it.
He traps his followers in his own unbalanced state. That is a profound way to look at how a purely internal spiritual failure, just a severing of spirit and soul, eventually bleeds out into massive societal corruption and theological tyranny.
It is the macro manifestation of a microfracture. The failure of the Isra journey results in the corruption of the earth.
Okay, so we have deeply explored this horizontal journey, Al-Isra. The internal trek through the dark, from the emotional heart to the higher spirit. And we have seen the catastrophic warning label of what happens when that journey fails, illustrated by Dr. Waleed's linguistic breakdown of the entity of Israel. But what happens if you actually succeed?
The success state.
Yeah. What happens if you maintain the mizan, keep the spirit and soul paired, and successfully arrive at the farthest mosque inside yourself? Where does that internal kinetic energy go?
Well, it must go upward. And this leads us to the second massive concept in Dr. Waleed's treatise, the vertical journey, al-Miraj, the Ascension.
And this is where Dr. Waleed's theory on the Almighty Covenant channel takes a turn that genuinely blew my mind.
Oh, I know. It's wild.
Because up until this point, we have been operating entirely in the realm of psychological metaphor.
The internal landscapes.
Right. The mosque is the heart, the journey is internal. But when it comes to the Ascension, he suddenly drops an anchor into literal dirt.
He really does.
He pins this cosmic psychological state to a very specific, rigid physical map.
He does. Dr. Waleed asserts that while the preparation, al-Isra, is internal, the culmination, al-Miraj, requires a physical staging ground.
A physical place.
Yeah. He asks the foundational question. Where does this perfectly achieved inner balance physically project onto the earth to allow for a cosmic meeting?
Okay.
And he provides highly specific geographic coordinates for this journey.
This challenges everything, because if the journey is spiritual, why does the physical location matter?
Because in Dr. Waleed's synthesis of geography and theology, the physical earth was designed to interface with the cosmic realm at very specific topographical nexuses.
Topographical nexuses.
Right. He is merging physical geography with spiritual topography.
So what are the coordinates?
According to his analysis, human prophets who have achieved this internal state must start their vertical journey from a physical location called Marwa.
Marwa.
Which he locates in Baka, synonymous with Jerusalem, specifically at Mount Sinai.
Okay, so the physical starting point is Marwa, but they don't ascend directly from there.
Yeah, they don't.
They have to travel to another specific point.
Correct. They must travel from Marwa to Mount Sinan, or Tur Sinan in Arabic.
Okay.
And Dr. Waleed is incredibly precise about the location of this mount. He places it east of the Yam.
The Yam being the Dead Sea.
Yes.
So they are traveling to a specific mountainous region east of the Dead Sea.
Yes. Dr. Waleed identifies this highly specific location east of the Dead Sea as the true Al-Aqsa.
Wait, Al-Aqsa again?
Yes, but not as the internal spirit we discussed in the horizontal journey. This is the physical counterpart in the land of Misir, which he correlates to the Quranic Egypt myster.
Now, I have to challenge this.
Go ahead.
Because if I pull up Google Maps right now, the country of Egypt is in North Africa, west of the Red Sea.
Right.
It is nowhere near the eastern side of the Dead Sea. How does he reconcile that massive geographical discrepancy?
By meticulously stripping away modern political borders and analyzing ancient cartography and linguistic roots.
Okay, what does he find?
Dr. Waleed dissects ancient maps of the region, historically referred to as Mazer. He argues that the Quranic concept of myths is not the modern nation-state of Egypt.
Not the country.
No, it's this specific topographical area east of the Dead Sea. He argues that this specific location, the right mount parallel to the western Mount Sinai, acts as an earthly skygate.
An earthly skygate.
Yeah.
That is such a sci-fi concept, but it makes perfect mechanical sense in his framework.
It really connects the dots.
Let me go back to my vehicle analogy.
Oh, I love the vehicle analogies. Lay it on me.
So if Al-Isra is building the rocket ship, aligning the engine and the navigation, fueling it up, getting the internal systems perfect.
Right, the internal prep.
Al-Miraj is the actual launch, and you can't just launch a space shuttle from your backyard or a random parking lot.
No, the physics don't work.
Exactly. The physics of the Earth, the rotation of the planet, the atmospheric pressure, they all demand a specific launch pad. You need Cape Canaveral.
Cape Canaveral, yes.
And Dr. Waleed is arguing that the divine Cape Canaveral for the human soul, the exact coordinates where the physical world is thin enough to interface with the cosmic realm, is Mount Sinan, east of the Dead Sea.
That is exactly his argument.
Wow.
The internal state must perfectly align with external geography. The inside has to match the outside.
Right.
The internal compass finds true north, the sacred pairs are locked in Mizan, and then the physical vessel must stand on the literal launch pad to achieve the vertical ascension.
That is an unbelievable synthesis of the metaphysical and the physical.
It's incredibly elegant, honestly.
So let's put ourselves on that launch pad. Let's assume the traveler has done the work. They are balanced.
The mizan is achieved.
They are standing at Mount Sinai. What actually happens during this vertical ascension? What is the payload of this cosmic rocket launch?
Well, this brings us to the peak of the entire experience, the ultimate destination,
Which
Dr. Waleed derives from a deep analysis of Surah Anam. At this earthly skygate, through the process of ascension, the traveler reaches an entity called Sidrat al-Muntaha.
the lote tree of the utmost boundary.
Yes.
That phrase always sounds so poetic, but in this mechanical framework, it feels like a literal threshold. What is this boundary?
It is the absolute frontier of created knowledge and proximity to the divine.
Wow.
According to Dr. Waleed's breakdown on the Almighty Covenant channel, here at this boundary, the divine light of the merciful covers the tree.
Okay.
But the most important aspect isn't just the light. It is what happens to the traveler's perception.
Their perception changes.
The verses in Surah Anam describe the traveler as achieving a highly specific state where the sight does not deviate, nor does it transgress.
The sight does not deviate, nor does it transgress. I want to dwell on that because that is the exact opposite of the panting dog we talked about earlier.
Exactly.
The panting dog is looking everywhere, desperate, distracted, driven by scattered instincts.
Sweating, panicking.
Right. But at the utmost boundary, the sight is locked. Absolute, unbreakable, laser-focused perception.
It is the ultimate manifestation of the spirit fully reigning over the soul.
A GPS is in total control.
Yes. But the most practical part of Dr. Waleed's treatise is that he doesn't leave this as an unattainable magical state.
He tells us how to do it.
He asks, how is this unwavering sight actually achieved? What is the mechanical trigger?
And what is it?
And he states that it begins with a very familiar, everyday command found throughout the text, the command to establish prayer.
Referencing Surah al-Baqarah, verse 110, right?
Yeah.
Wait.
That's prayer.
After all this talk of cosmic geography, earthly skygates, and sacred pairs, the trigger for this ultimate ascension is the standard act of establishing prayer.
It sounds deceptively simple, I know.
It does.
But Dr. Waleed redefines prayer not as a mere ritual, but as a deeply mechanical, protective process.
Okay.
Prayer is the action that initiates what he calls at-tazkiyah, divine purification.
How does that purification actually work?
So Dr. Waleed references Surah An-Nur, verse 21. This verse warns believers not to follow the footsteps of Satan and states that were it not for the favor and mercy of Allah, not one of them would ever have been purified or achieved tazkiyah.
Okay.
But Allah purifies whom He wills. Dr. Waleed explains that the moment you establish prayer and sit before the Creator, you are pulling your spirit and soul into alignment.
You are consciously linking them.
Yes. You are effectively erecting a fortress around your sacred pair, locking out those devils that are trying to sever the connection.
You are creating an active interference shield against the hacking.
Exactly. You're blocking the signal. And inside that shielded state of prayer, the purification happens.
Okay.
But we have to be very careful with how we define purification here.
Because it's not just about being good.
Right. Dr. Waleed doesn't define tazkiyah merely as becoming a nicer person or washing away moral guilt.
So what is it?
He defines it as an intellectual and spiritual upgrade.
An upgrade.
Yeah, purification is defined as gaining grace from the sciences of the divine book.
The sciences of the divine book. That word sciences changes everything.
It really does.
It frames the purification not as a bath, but as a data transfer.
Yes, exactly.
It is the acquisition of profound, undeniable cosmic knowledge. You are downloading the truth of reality directly from the source because your receiver, your paired spirit and soul, is finally perfectly tuned and free of static.
It is the ultimate enlightenment. You are sitting at the utmost boundary, your sight is not deviating, and you are receiving the pure science of the merciful.
Which brings this massive cosmic framework crashing right back down to the listener's living room.
Yes, the practical application.
Because what does this all mean for you, listening to this deep dive right now? You don't necessarily have to buy a plane ticket, hike to the eastern shores of the Dead Sea, and find Mount Sinai this afternoon to experience the core of this truth.
No, you don't.
If I'm digesting Dr. Waleed's thesis correctly, he is saying the launch sequence for your own vertical ascension, your own connection to that divine light and science, is accessible.
Entirely accessible.
It is the focused act of prayer. It is the act of sitting quietly before the Creator, shielding your internal network from the noise of the world, and allowing that knowledge to enter your balanced mind.
That is the profoundly empowering core of his message.
It really is.
If we look at the reality you and I inhabit today, we live in an ecosystem of infinite, weaponized distraction.
It's everywhere.
Social media algorithms, 24-hour news cycles, the constant demands of the modern economy. These are the modern devils, actively trying to hijack your raw soul, your nas.
They are the hackers.
Yes. They want to sever it from your higher spirit so they can keep you in a state of Zen, unbalanced, panting like that dog, constantly consuming but never satisfied.
They want to monetize your lack of balance.
Precisely. They profit from your Zen.
Wow.
So in this hostile environment, the ultimate superpower, the ultimate proof of tazkiyah, of purification, is the ability to achieve that state of Sidrat al-Muntaha in your daily life.
As total, unwavering focus on divine knowledge. Not looking left, not looking right, not swiping to the next video, just pure, undeviating sight. It takes these ancient, seemingly untouchable concepts and puts the controls firmly, undeniably right back in your own hands.
Exactly.
Which, as we wrap up this exploration, is exactly how Dr. Waleed concludes his entire framework on the Almighty Covenant channel. He doesn't end with a map of the stars, he ends with a mirror.
Yes. He brings all of these vast, intricate maps down to the heavy reality of immediate personal responsibility.
Right.
The final piece of his puzzle is the ultimate realization of the Covenant al-Mitak.
The namesake of his entire life's work. How does he define this ultimate covenant?
He anchors his concluding thought in Surah al-Baqarah, verse 134.
What is it?
The verse is stark and uncompromising. It reads, "That was a nation which has passed on. It will have what it earned, and you will have what you have earned. And you will not be asked about what they used to do."
You will have what you have earned, and you will not be asked about what they used to do. That verse essentially acts as a massive reset button for human history, doesn't it?
It cuts through all the theological baggage, all the inherited traditions, and all the excuses.
All of it.
Dr. Waleed is stating that the knowledge and the divine light you have access to today, the pure sciences drawn from what he calls the Kauthar, the abundant, overflowing source of revelation.
Right.
That is your individual responsibility to seek out and understand.
You are not bound by the mistakes or the misguidance of your predecessors.
No, you're not.
If the entity of Israel altered the words, broke the Mizan, and enslaved people with arbitrary rules thousands of years ago, you are not trapped by his failure.
Exactly.
You don't have to carry the weight of a corrupted history if history got the map wrong.
The map has been decoded and handed directly to you.
That is amazing.
The internal mechanism of your spirit and soul is yours alone to protect.
Yours alone.
The horizontal night journey from your raw heart to your higher person is yours to navigate. And the purification through unwavering focus and prayer is your personal launchpad.
Let's just take a breath and recap the sheer scale of the journey we just went on today, stepping through the meticulous architecture of Dr. Khaled Waleed's framework.
It's been quite a ride.
It really has. We started at the very foundation of human consciousness, the sacred pair.
The spirit and the soul.
Right. We looked at the internal battle, the subtle, devastating magic that tries to separate our higher navigating spirit from our primal, powerful soul.
The engine and the GPS.
Exactly. We saw how crucial it is to maintain that counterweight, that mizan, to keep from devolving into a state of zan or unbalance.
And from there, we mapped the true nature of Al-Isra.
The horizontal journey.
Not a flight across the desert, but a horizontal journey in the dark of our own minds, moving from the sacred mosque of the emotional heart to the farthest mosque of the elevated spirit.
Then we looked at the tragic, cautionary failure of the first Uzair, Israel.
The one who failed the journey.
We saw what happens when the soul dominates the spirit, how it pants after its desires, and how that internal fracture externally manifests as tyranny.
Altering divine laws and restricting lawful things, just to play God and enslave others.
Then we charted the literal physical geography required for Al-Miraj, the vertical ascension,
the earthly sky gate,
moving from Marwa to Mount Sinan, east of the Dead Sea, in the true topographical land of Misr.
And finally, we arrived at the utmost boundary, Sidrat al-Muntaha,
where the sight doesn't deviate.
We learned that the ultimate cosmic meeting isn't about flying through space, but about achieving a state where the noise of the world completely fades.
The quiet, profound power of personal purification tazkiyah happens through the establishment of prayer and the downloading of divine science.
It is a breathtaking, almost overwhelming synthesis of root linguistics, deep psychology, and ancient geography.
It really is.
But when you strip away the complexity, it is, at its core, a resounding call to individual empowerment.
The map is in your hands.
No one can make the internal journey for you, and conversely, no devil and no corrupted history can force you to remain unbalanced if you choose to seek the light of the merciful.
Dr. Waleed showed us precisely how the disruptive forces try to separate our higher spirit from our primal soul to keep us unbalanced.
Their entire goal is to disconnect our navigation system while the engine is running hot.
So as you, the listener, step away from this deep dive and go about your day today, as you look at the mundane but vital choices you are about to make, the food you decide to put in your body, the words you are about to speak to your family or your coworkers, the media you are consuming on your phone right now,
The doom scrolling.
I want you to ask yourself one lingering question. Which part of your sacred pair is steering the ship in this exact moment?
Is it the spirit or the soul?
Is it your raw, panting, reactive instinct, or is it your quiet, guiding, balanced spirit? Are you driving the vehicle, or are you just letting the engine run wild in the dark?
That's the question.
The coordinates are there. Your internal GPS is just waiting to be turned back on. Thank you so much for joining us on this incredibly deep dive. We will catch you next time.